Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 121 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Okay, so we're going to start off this week with a shave of the day. Then I'll give you some news about what's going on over there at the Wet Shaving News, hosted by Sharpologist, Mantic59, and the boys over there at Wet Shaving News doing a great job. Got an interview this week, and it's an interview with a guy that, well, first off, I really admire, and from a certain standpoint, have tried to learn from him. And yeah, it's not him, it's me, but I keep trying. Okay, so then we'll throw in another shave of the day, talk a little bit about the shaving soap that I've been using. Got a link to that in the show notes. Let's talk about cast iron. Now, I've talked just briefly about one of the things that I wanted to do, which was re-season my cast iron. Well, I actually did it, and I want to talk to you about the results and give you a few links to help you out in case you want to go that route as well. Throw in the weekend shave of the days, and apparently I'm getting good at this. I'll tell you how I know that. Monday's shave of the day. Just within the show notes, and I can't remember if it's Monday shave of the day or Tuesday shave of the day or what, but it might even be Wednesdays, I don't know. But talk about a letter that I got talking about blade angles, and specifically I went and took some pictures of what the approximate blade angles are for a razor, and more importantly, how the razor kind of fits up against your face. So it's a little bit different, and it's especially important when it comes to single edge razors, so that you don't basically scrape your face like you're scraping the dirt with a hoe, because it's not the same angle. Tuesday shave of the day, and finally, let's talk about, well, a relaxing distraction. Sometimes you need that. Anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with it. Well, the boys at Wet Shaving News have stepped it up a notch, and in fact, it was an absolute pleasure. Because I'm a fan of this guy, and they went and got an interview with him. How is that for cool? So who am I talking about? The guys over at Wet Shaving News, which is hosted by Mantic59 over there on Sharpologist, got an interview with none other than Murray Carter from Carter Cutlery. Okay, so if you don't know Murray, he is he's a guy that was an apprentice for a Japanese bladesmith, a master bladesmith, and so he is carrying on a tradition. He makes, first off, some absolutely gorgeous knives, and some knives that, well, razor sharp is, kind of an understatement. He's also got a bunch of videos for his sharpening system, and in fact, that is the system that I use to in an attempt to get things, well, sharper. I've got a lot of work to do, but he is my inspiration when it comes to making things sharp. So I'll link to Carter Cutlery, but I'll also link to the podcast where the boys over at Wet Shaving News have done an interview with none other than Murray Carter at Carter Cutlery. In fact, I've also got a link because this one's just kind of funny. He's shaving with a spoon. Now, granted, it is a special spoon that he in fact made, but the point is that he is shaving with a spoon. Okay, it is a great YouTube video, and if you check out the channel, there's other things that he shaves with. So it's all really good stuff. But I wanted to let you guys know about it. You got to check it out. Well, it's 37 degrees out here. A little chilly this morning. That's okay. You know, if it's in South Carolina here where I live, if you have to wear more than a light coat, yeah, it's cold. So it's okay. There's a reason. There is a reason that I live here. There's a reason that I moved here. And the weather is part of that reason. Anyhow, let's talk about the shave of the day, because the shave of the day, well, helped prepare me for the weather. So here you go. So use my my puck of Cade soap, and that does not have any distinct odor to it at all. Whereas the stuff in the tube has the L'Occitane soap that I have in the tube has a nice lavender scent. The puck of soap does not. It's scentless. So that's nice. Ended up using my my Gillette Slim adjustable with a Gillette silver or a Gillette yellow blade in it, and second shave on that blade. Good shave, really was. One thing that I noticed was that I was getting, well, what felt like razor burn. So I put on some balm, and lo and behold, it's doesn't sting anymore. No issues, no problems. Just kind of calmed right down. So I'm really thinking that my issue and problem was due to dryness. Anyhow, spread the soap around and lathered it up with my Nathan Clark BrushnSoapnBlade Podcast brush. That's the one that you may see from time to time on Twitter or Instagram or in Shave of the Day pictures. That is the black and yellow wood handle that I've got mine with a badger knot on it. Good stuff. So it does a great job lathering stuff up and holds warmth. That's one thing that I've noticed between my boar brush and my boar brushes and my badger brushes. When I'm using my electric scuttle, the badger brushes have a tendency to hold the warmth, well, better. So, anyhow, finish that up with some L'Occitane Bauve, some balm. It's got kind of a tobacco, smoky, woodsy scent, so good stuff there. And all in all, yeah, things are going good. I'm trying to get out of the house early today, so having a good shave is kind of helpful in that regard. Helps me to kind of calm down a little bit, get organized, think about all the stuff that I'm trying to get done today, and I don't know, figure out a game plan. You know, it's one of the things that you can do with that time that you take. You know, that everybody says is, you know, way too much time to shave. Well, you can take that time to kind of, I don't know, meditate on the day, as it were, and try to figure out, well, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? You know, what are the steps? What are the actions? You know, just kind of work your way through it and figure out which end is up. And sometimes, you know, we all have days where things are just busy. Although, for me, it's been the last week. Holy cow. You know, when you get to work and you walk in and then you realize that you're walking out and, you know, lunch was like 15 minutes of plowing stuff in your face, and it's like you've had a couple of cups of coffee and it's just like you're exhausted. But no time to think, no time to do, just anyhow. The good news is that we have the opportunity to go out here and actually make something happen, or at least try to make something happen. And you know, that's one of the things that if you get an opportunity to be thankful for it, well, you should, because it's not guaranteed. And having the opportunity to go out, do stuff, interact with people, well, it's a good thing. All right, I have been wanting to do this for a while, or at least talk about it for a while, so here we go. So, I am a fan, I am a proponent of cast iron pans. I love cast iron. cast iron to me is the way that, well, that's the way you're supposed to cook when it comes to like a skillet or something like that. If I can do it in cast iron, I'm going to do it in cast iron. Now, the thing that's for me, a pot where you're boiling water or doing something like that, well, that's a little different. I'm okay with, like stainless and stuff like that for that. But for, steaks, eggs, bacon, things like that, cast iron for me is the way to go. But one of the things that I've often, not necessarily struggled with, but not really been satisfied with, is the seasoning. Now, okay, so I have the majority of my cast iron is Lodge, and Lodge is the only United States manufacturer, I believe, at this point that still casts their cast iron here in the U.S. And in fact, they make it down in Pittsburgh, Tennessee. I've been been to the foundry and been bought in their outlet store many times right there at the foundry, and have always enjoyed it. They've got some good stuff. And in fact, that's where I've gotten the majority of my my Boy Scout cast iron Dutch ovens. I've got them out of the blem pile there at the foundry. They don't send the blems to like the outlet stores. They still have, those things are still good stuff in the outlet stores. They keep the blems right there at the factory outlet store where they can kind of control a little bit better. And if you know what you're looking for from a blem perspective, because they're looking for porosity and things like that. Well, if the porosity is high up on the pot or on the outside of the pot or outside the lid or something like that, they're not going to sell it as a normal product, but it's perfect for scouts. They're not going to use that part of it anyhow, and it's not that big a deal. Works great. Now, the original seasoning that comes on Lodge pans and skillets and things like that is really a nice seasoning, but what I found is that okay, so we take a skillet, for example. A Lodge skillet has the texture on the bottom of it is very bumpy. It's almost like you can see the grain of the sand that they use to cast the thing. And in order to get a really nice cooking surface, you essentially, over time, have to scrape that off. Now, the other thing, I don't baby my cast iron. I use my cast iron, and in doing so, one of the ways that I clean my cast iron is that I scrape it. I scrape it clean, and I scrape it clean with stainless steel utensils. Now, when you do that, you get a stainless steel spatula, and get one with rounded edges instead of the squared off edges. Squared off edges will just ding the sides of the cast iron and just, make they won't work right. If you get the rounded edges, though, and if you get a good quality stainless steel spatula, if you get a good quality stainless steel spatula, it will be nice, and you'll have many years of service. I actually found one, and they don't make it anymore, unfortunately, but I liked it so much I actually went on online and found the last remaining one that was out there on Amazon and ordered it and got it. So now I actually have two stainless steel spatulas, and I'm glad I've got them because they'll last me, probably my lifetime unless something happens to them. But I have found that for me, constant and consistent use of my cast iron skillet, weekends, things like that. Yeah, typically when I cook, I'll cook breakfast, bacon, eggs, or whatever on the weekends. And over the course of usage in probably about 3 years, I know that seems like a long time, but it's a good quality pan in the meantime, but it just gets better. It's almost like it's almost like what happens with a good shaving brush. It starts out really good, but then it blooms, and it's just like, at one point you kind of stand there with your mouth agape going, wow. Well, it's kind of like that. And so over the course of time of using the Lodge cast iron skillet, it took about probably 3 or 4 years of normal usage, and I realized that there were no bumps anymore on the bottom because, well, in the aftermath of scraping clean and, scraping eggs and stuff like that off the bottom of it, that, I basically smoothed out the bottom so that it was, just perfectly flat and smooth. But the other thing that had happened over the time, now usually what I would do is I would keep my pan kind of liberally soaked up, if you will, in bacon grease. And that did a pretty good job. I mean, it's, I still use it today. It's not a bad thing. But when I looked at the bottom of the pan, the seasoning, I mean, you could see bare metal in places, and the seasoning was essentially scraped off, and it was down to bare metal in a lot of places, in a lot of instances. And I thought, is that the way it's supposed to be? I don't remember like my grandmother's cast iron pan being that way. And so it was always something that just kind of, in the back of my head just kind of stuck, So one of my buddies sent me a link to a blog called Cheryl's blog, and the blog post is The Chemistry of Cast Iron Seasoning, a science-based how-to. And she is a proponent of not using bacon grease or that kind of stuff for seasoning pans, but in fact using, something that is a little bit more scientifically suited. It is still a high-quality oil, but in fact, in a heated environment, it polymerizes much more thoroughly than just about anything else. And what that is flaxseed oil. And so I got that, and I thought, well, okay, I'll try it. I'll try it on one pan and see how it goes. So, what I did is I took my old cast iron skillet that I had been using for years and years, and I threw it in my grill with the heat cranked up as high as it would go. So you're probably talking 550 degrees or so. And I just basically baked the old finish completely off of it. And do it outside because the smoke is just outrageous. But so do that, and then once the pan is nice and hot, and all the old finish is baked off, just shut the gas off and let it cool slowly in that same environment. You don't open the lid or anything; you just let it kind of cool. And what I did is before I did all this, I went and I'll put a link on the blog of what I got, but I got some 100% pure gold flax oil, organic. And it's from Foods Alive. It was I don't know, when I bought it, it was not that expensive. It was probably about $16, $13 or $16, somewhere in that neighborhood. Now it's like $20. But at the time it wasn't that bad. So what I did was I coated the pan and then wiped it all off. And what ends up happening is the oil that is not wiped off is in fact in the pores of the pan. And then I proceeded to put it in the grill, heat it up to about 350 degrees, and let it just kind of sit there for an hour or so. And I turned the gas off and let it cool down on its own. And so I was able to get 2 or 3 coats a day. And I did this over a weekend and ended up with 6 coats of this seasoning, if you will, in my pan. And at the end of the day, first off, it is a miraculously dark seasoning, which is really nice. I mean, it almost takes it back to, it's a little bit glossier, if you will, than the original Lodge seasoning. But the more important thing is that I have been using this pan now for several months, and I haven't scraped the black off on the bottom. I don't see metal anymore. It is still a perfectly good, smooth, non-stick surface, essentially, that has remained. And so I have finally achieved what it was that I wanted to achieve, which is a good seasoning that lasts And so because I've been so happy with it, I actually went and did a couple of Dutch ovens with about 6 coats of flaxseed oil. And yeah, it has really worked wonders for me. Now, here's a pan again that I use a stainless steel spatula to scrape on, and anything that does happen to sort of stick, I'll scrape it off and wash it off with a little bit of water in a hot pan and let it kind of boil off and stuff like that, and then scrape it out. I mean, I'm not gentle on these pans. Now, I don't use soap and water on them. I just wipe them out. Dry them out with heat, and then throw a little olive oil in it and call it a day, or a little bacon grease or something like that. So I still keep them, oiled. But if I look at the bottoms of them, and I've got a picture. I was cooking some. I was getting ready to cook a roast, is what I was doing, and I was browning up some onions and some celery and some carrots, which is a flavor combination that is. Well, it's ideal for celery and meats and things like that, and yeah, good stuff. But I'm cooking this stuff up at a fairly high temperature, and nothing's sticking. And I got a view here of the center of the pan where I scrape with this, with my the same spatula that I've used for years, and there is no metal showing through. It is all black seasoned surface. So if you're into cast iron, check out the link. Like I said, it's Cheryl's blog, and it's a link on how to season cast iron with flaxseed oil, and I did it. Yeah, it worked. Monday morning. We made it to another Monday, which is not a bad thing, because anytime you make it to another day, well, it started out well anyhow. After that, it's up to you to make it, well, what you make it. Anyhow, the weekend. Yeah, the weekend was beautiful here. The weekend was nice, warm, got to do a lot of work outside. Heck, I even took my canoe out onto the pond and went around and picked up trash. So, good stuff. I do that about twice a year, and just go up and get bottles and cans, and goodness knows what else is floating around on the pond. And, a lot of people either don't have access or don't think about it or whatever, but I like to keep the pond looking, well, kind of nice. So it's my gift to all my neighbors there on the pond. So went and did that. The wildest thing I found was apparently somebody lost a grill cover, one of those vinyl covers for their barbecue grill, and it blew off into the pond. So I don't know who had it, but it wasn't in real good shape by the time I got a hold of it. Anyhow, the Saturday and Sunday shaves of the day were very relaxed. They truly were. It was a nice weekend, and just kind of chilled out. And well, the shave kind of set the mood, or went with the mood. Used my straight razor, my little case straight razor, which is a 4/8 wide straight razor. I believe it's a full hollow grind, but it's a nice little straight razor. If I was to get another straight razor at this point, because most of my straights are a little bit more, well, full bodied, I guess is the word, and and I find that I enjoy my little straight razor, my little thin one, quite well. I enjoy it. It's really, to me, it's much different than the bigger ones. You can get places and you can get angles with that thing that I just can't get with my big ones. And so I find that I enjoy it. It's kind of akin, I guess, to the same thing with my VC1 auto strop versus my VC4 auto strop. Now, if you've been listening, you know this, but if you haven't ever heard this before, The distance between the open comb and the actual cutting edge of the blade is very narrow in the VC1, which allows you to have a very comfortable shave, but yet get in tightly in places. On the other hand, the VC4 has a safety bar, and the distance is much greater. And so you just can't get in as tight. And, well, it's just kind of nice to be able to do what you want with what you have. And so to me, to a certain extent, the thinner straight razor kind of fills that same niche/need. So anyhow, the Cade Puck soap, I'm convinced it's unscented. I have not looked at the company's website or anything else to see, because, it's just a puck, and so I don't have the packaging anymore. But I believe that the stuff is unscented. But it is a fabulous base for a soap. I mean, it's really a nice soap. Lathers very, very nicely. And the thing, back in the day, I really didn't appreciate unscented soaps. I really didn't. I just I look at them and go, why? Why would you bother? And now, as I have more of an assortment of aftershaves and things like that, it's kind of like, okay, I can get a wonderful shave with a beautiful soap, and I can fit any scent profile that I want to it. Well, now that's kind of neat. Now you don't have to mix and match, and now you just kind of, what am I in the mood for? So it makes it kind of special. So, I didn't do anything outrageous with aftershaves or anything like that, but it was just kind of a revelation, really, that unscented soaps not only have a place, but have kind of a fun place if you use that unscented nature to allow you to do other things. So, kind of enjoyed that. It was, again, for, I don't know, how long have I been doing a podcast? 2 years? For 2 years, I always thought, unscented soaps, my God, why? Now I get it. And it's those kind of revelations every now and then that really make it, just fun. It's like, aha! So anybody says that they can't learn anything, Anyhow, those were the shaves of the day on Saturday and Sunday. It was, like I said, beautiful weekend. Got to do some work outside, cut some limbs off some trees that needed it, and clean them up, and worked out by the pond, and, just generally, cleaned up a little bit. So, all in all, good stuff. Anyhow, there you go. So another thing, I'm getting good at this, apparently. So I came down this weekend after a straight razor shave, and my wife is sitting there at the table, and I grab a cup of coffee, and I go to kiss her good morning, and she said, "Oh, you shaved?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "What'd you use?" I said, "Well, a straight razor." She felt my face, and she said, "Wow, you're getting good at that." I'm thinking, wow, now that's a compliment. So apparently I'm making inroads and actually able to accomplish a halfway decent shave with a straight razor. I mean, if the wife is willing to admit that, that's really, really good, I'm making progress. So quite happy about that. And as with anything else, practice makes perfect, and don't be afraid to try. And once you have the opportunity to try, whether that is with a straight razor or with a double-edged razor or a single-edged razor, if you have a significant other, have them nicely warn them ahead of time that, hey, I'm going to ask you to critique my shave. Be kind, if you will, please, because I'm trying to get better at this. But, it is nice. Now, another thing that's interesting is I got an email, and an email from from someone who said that they had gone out and bought a valet auto strop, a VC1 as a matter of fact, and they really like the auto strop and they like the look of it, and it's just, it's good stuff in that regard. And they went to use it, and lo and behold, it tore them up. And so I wrote them back, and I said, okay. First off, I hate that it tore you up. They said they are getting better at it, but they did say that it tore them up. So I wrote them back, and I said, okay, do you remember or do you have an understanding of why it tore you up? And the reply that I got back was that, well, when I first used it, what I was doing is I was using it at the same angle as a double-edged razor. Okay, there is the roots of a potential problem. A single-edged razor is not designed to be used at the same angle as a double-edged razor. And the reason for that is that if you look at a double-edged razor, as you put the top cap on or as you close the silo doors, it bends. And in bending, the angle is no longer 90 degrees to the handle, but it is actually changed because that blade is warped, and it is somewhat less than 90 degrees to the handle. Now, what you are trying to achieve is an angle of 15 to 20 degrees of the blade to the face, very similar to the same angle that you use when you're shaving with a straight razor. Okay? So on a double-edged razor, the handle is, I don't know, I'll take some pictures, but I'm guessing here because I'm driving down the road. I'm guessing the angle of the handle is probably 60 degrees perpendicular to the face. But on a single-edged razor, the blade is actually designed in most cases to almost be touching flush up against the face. If you look at, say, like a gem, for example, the top cap is actually designed to slide across your face, and that's what sets the angle of the blade. Now, a valet, an auto strop, there is no top cap because the blade is just sitting there, and so you have to basically judge that angle. But the handle that you're holding is closer to 90 degrees. And again, I'm going to take some pictures because, like they say, pictures speak 1,000 words, and you'll understand if I take some pictures. But if you have a valet auto strop, remember that or a single-edged razor, remember that the razor design, the principle of that razor design is that blade is much flatter against the face than what you're used to or what you think you're used to with a double-edged razor. And it's a completely different thing than a cartridge razor. A cartridge razor, if you look at it, the blade is, or the handle is almost, I'm going to say almost straight down. It's not quite. It's probably a 20-degree angle. But, depending on what kind you have, but the typical cartridge razor, the angle of that handle is much lower than anything that we use in traditional shaving. So I'm going to take some pictures just as way of comparison, because if you're not holding the blade at the correct angle, you're essentially using the blade not as a cutting tool, but as a scraping tool. There is a tool known in woodworking as a cabinet scraper that is actually used to scrape layers off of wood and things like that. And quite honestly, if you're not holding the razor at the correct angle, that's exactly what you're doing to your face and your skin, which means you're going to have razor burn. It's going to be rough. So anyhow, I'll take some pictures and post them up so that they're in the show notes, and I may post them on Facebook too, because there may be some other people out there that don't listen to the show that anyhow. be advised. There's the angle of the blade that you have to be aware of. So, yeah, take that into account every time you shave. So, Monday morning, it's the beautiful Monday morning. It's 53 degrees out here. Wow. Lovely day. Overcast, but lovely, lovely day. Anyhow, shave of the day. The shave of the day today was my Brush and Soap and Blade Nathan Clark boar brush, soaked up in a salsa bowl, whipping up a lather of unscented Cade, proceeded to shave it off in a single pass with some touch-up with a VC1 auto strop. Now, the reason that I did that is, first off, I was running late. The other reason that I did that is that I wanted to see just how close I could get with just a single pass with the auto strop. Now, in single pass, it was essentially, as much as I could do it, 100% against the grain. So for some people, that's really difficult. There was some, in fact, even this morning, if I had taken a little bit more time for prep, it would have been more comfortable. But the VC1 and the feather blades are capable of doing a straight against the grain shot there and do a pretty decent job. Socially acceptable, not a problem at all. But again, it was an experiment. It was like, I wonder if I can do this. And no irritation or issues. And in fact, when I threw on the aftershave, it was like throwing on water. And so that is another potential benefit of doing single pass shaves, and is that there's less irritation. When you shave, you scrape off a layer of skin, basically, when you start getting close. And if you are still up at the levels of stubble so that you're not scraping skin, then you can reduce your irritation a little bit. So that was kind of a neat little experiment. I may do it again tomorrow. I don't know. May try a different blade, try a double-edged blade or something like that. And but the main reason that I didn't pick up my double-edged razor is because I can get a closer shave faster with my AutoStrop VC1 single edge than I can with a double edge. It's just a fact of life. It's kind of like I can get closer faster with a straight razor, or at least closer, maybe not faster, but I can get closer with a straight razor than I can with a double edge. There's just something about it. I don't know if it's the surface area that's covered or what, but I can get closer with a with a straight razor. Anyhow, finished up again, like I was saying the other day, the advantage really of having the unscented soap, which I didn't appreciate before, but which I do now. The advantage is that you can then put on any flavor, if you will, aftershave without, colliding with whatever scent the soap had, which was, kind of nice. So today, just for the sake of argument, and again, it was part of the experiment, use some of the Stetson Cooling Splash, which is essentially Stetson aftershave with some menthol in it. And it was like splashing on water. It, a slight cooling effect from the menthol, but not as much as I would normally feel, and no sting at all because I had no razor burn or cuts or nicks or issues like that. So all in all, good stuff. Good little experiment. Like I said, I may have to try again. But the main thing in being able to do that, if you do try it, is first off, good prep. Otherwise, you will get an intense amount of tugging. And the second one is use a very good blade and prep properly. Good blade. That's half the battle right there, and prepping properly is probably the other half. Otherwise, you are going to get tugging, and it will be, just a little bit uncomfortable. But there you go. In my days of shaving, I can put up with a lot of tugging. It really doesn't bother me a lot. It's just, okay. But I wouldn't recommend it. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day today. Like I said, finished off with some Stetson Cooling Splash at just, $4 or whatever it is up at Walmart. Again, I bought it just to try it, just see, okay, what is this stuff? I like Stetson, and it's got kind of a classic smell to it. And the Cooling Splash there has a touch of menthol, and it's like, okay, yeah. So it's all good stuff, and we're off to the races one more time to do it again. Hopefully this week won't be quite as bad as last week. Unfortunately, I'm not going to hold my breath. Anyhow, there you go, shave of the day. Well, it has decided to be a froggy morning out here this morning. Let's see, it's about 50 some odd degrees, 55 degrees. But it is foggy, very foggy. Visibility is probably about 100 yards. After that, it gets to be a bit much. So, that's okay. So let's talk about the shave of the day. So the shave of the day today, I went back with the unscented Cade shaving soap. Used my Smog 1305 boar brush and proceeded to use my Gillette 7 yellow blade in my slim adjustable, and I went back and did the kind of the one-pass shave, sort of like what I did yesterday with my auto strop, but I did it with that double-edged Gillette. And I wanted to see. I wanted to see. And I will stick by my statement that I get a closer shave with a single-edged than I do with a double-edged. Did I shave? Yeah. Is it close? No. Is it socially acceptable? It knocked the big things off, but I don't know. It's it's akin to what it would be around noonish or maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's the level of closeness that I was able to achieve on average. It's a little closer in some places, a little bit worse in others, but that's on average what I was able to achieve. Okay, so that is with a single pass against the grain. Now, the key message here is that, first off, I have often heard and done multiple passes. And of course, the closer the more passes you take, the closer you get. And that is true. But the question that I kind of always had on top of, well, could I do it, is just how close do you, or can you get with a single pass? And it's not satisfactory. It's okay. I don't mind going out in public like this, but it's not satisfactory. This is definitely not a date night shave. Let's put it that way. But at the same time, it's also exceedingly quick. So, there is that. So there's always trade-offs. And, so, if you are in a hurry, you can, get by, if you will, with a single pass. Just make sure that the prep is correct and that you got a good blade. And, if you happen to be a fan of single-edged, at least if you're like me, you may end up getting a closer single-pass shave with a single-edged razor than you do with a double-edged razor. So, just saying, that's just me. Didn't use an aftershave today, just wanted to try it out. Now, another thing that's interesting is I nicked my ear today. I haven't nicked myself in a long time, but I nicked my ear. Now, the thing is I don't know what I nicked my ear with. I think, I'm pretty sure it was with the blade, and I think I came over sideways on it. But at the same time, I don't nick my ears with my single edge, and mainly because the ends of the razors are protected by the little tips that are incorporated into the razor to do just that. However, the double-edged blades are not, and I find I sometimes nick myself in strange areas because of that. It's just granted, I'm not trying to make excuses for nicking myself. I'm just saying that if I counted up the number of times that I've nicked myself with a razor, 9 times out of 10, it's with a double-edged, and it's with, the corner of the blade instead of with a single-edged. Just saying. So, anyhow, that's what's going on today with the shave of the day. Okay, it is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful rainy day. Now, you may think I'm partially nuts, but I actually looked forward. I did. I woke up this morning. I heard the rain all last night. I woke up this morning, and it was coming down like nobody. And I actually looked forward to getting out in it. And you're probably thinking, yeah, you're a nut. The reason that I looked forward to coming out and getting in it was because it finally rained. None of this white stuff, but actual rain, and I could check the repair on the mobile studio to find out if indeed the third tail light, the brake light that's up in the top of the cab, was no longer leaking water into the mobile studio. And lo and behold, first thing I did, open the door, drop my bag in, and suddenly, nothing. No water, no moisture, no nothing. Great stuff. Holy cow, am I impressed with that. I am so happy. Such a inexpensive fix. Something that, cost me maybe with shipping and everything else, $10. Take the old one out, put the new gasket in there, seal it all up, put it all back in place. Voila, problem fixed. Move on. Wow, I like that. That is sweet. So anyhow, with that being said, and with that as the cornerstone of a beautiful day, I can now talk about, the shave of the day. Shave of the day today was probably my last shave in a while with the puck of Cade unscented soap, and we use the 1305 Samog boar brush and lathered up. And, of course, great lathering soap, beautiful lathering soap. It's just kind of exploded out of the bowl this morning. Had a little bit more moisture in the brush this morning, as well. I made a mistake. I was in a hurry yesterday, and I forgot to rinse out my brush. So my brush basically sat there with soap on it. So I soaked it and let it soak for a while and just kind of flicked out the residual, but it probably still had some soap up inside it. So the lather just absolutely exploded out of that brush. Really, really amazing. So anyhow, did that. Used my Gillette yellow blade this morning in my slim adjustable, and got a nice shave out of it. I did a 3-pass plus some touch up. And it was like, it's okay. It's not bad. It's BBS on the cheeks and on the flat parts, and socially acceptable on the neck. So I think I'm okay. I think I'm in pretty good shape. And then I went down, and I'll have to take a picture of this, but went down and dug in my box of goodies and pulled out an old collector's thing of Burma Shave and threw on a little Burma Shave aftershave. And man, I'll tell you what, I like that scent. I wish somebody would come out with that scent again, but I'll take a picture of it. It's got a little Persona double-edged pack in it and everything, and it's good stuff. It's back, takes you back and good smelling stuff, and just, kind of a nostalgia type thing. Now, I did nick myself one time pretty good in the neck. Apparently, I got myself yesterday and didn't notice it and raised a bump and just kind of opened it up this morning. So, not real fun there. soaping up and bleeding all over the place. It's like, well, okay, might as well finish shaving first before I take care of this thing. And had to get the old styptic pencil out. And my styptic pencil is in rough shape. It's broken into pieces, and the pieces are like falling apart and everything. So I may have to get a new one. Not that I really like a styptic pencil, but here's the thing: the styptic pencil itself seems like it's a bunch of crystals that are, I don't know, kind of molded. They're wet, and then they're kind of molded together or something. And it doesn't seem like it. If I look at my my aluminum bar, for example, my aluminum block, it's a solid chunk of aluminum. I mean, it's solid. There's no there's no pieces or parts of that thing. It's just one solid chunk of crystal. But the styptic pencil, on the other hand, is just it's a bunch of little parts. And I'm just wondering if somebody makes one that's solid. I'll have to look. It's granted, it's just a styptic pencil, but at the same time, it would be nice to have one that lasted a while and didn't fall apart and, looked halfway decent, Anyhow, there you go. A little rant on a styptic pencil. Of course, it stung, I mean, just like I said, it was, an ex-wife or invented by the ex-wife or something, just to make it hurt. I don't know. Just one of those things, Anyhow, good shave of the day. I've kind of come to the conclusion that, Gillette yellows, they're okay, but they're probably not my favorites. So I'll go back to doing something else. Maybe I'll go play single edge or straight razor for a while next week. I don't know. But all in all, good stuff. And the best part of it, the absolute best part of it, is the mobile studio is bone dry this morning after a night of rain. Oh, good stuff. Well, I took the canoe out for the first time this year yesterday. And often you don't see that. 2 dead cats in the road. Wonder if they were fighting. Interesting. Anyhow, so I took my canoe out yesterday for the first time this year. And it's always fun, first off, to flip the canoe over to find out what's camped out underneath it. I've had snakes, I've had possum, I've had all kinds of critters camp out underneath my canoe. So it's just, it's one of those things that's always kind of, I wonder what I'm going to find now. So anyhow, I got a pond out back. It's not a big pond, but every now and then it needs a little attention. And so get out the canoe and try to remember how to paddle around again. And one of the things that I do is pick up garbage, pick up trash, plastic bottles, beer cans, things like that are floating around inside the pond, and just kind of clean up the banks. Now, I have been taking, last year I took some time and knocked down some trees that had grown up on the dam, and got to get rid of those. And so slowly but surely we will clean all this mess up. One of the interesting things I found in there is there was a barbecue cover, one of the vinyl barbecue covers. Well, apparently it had blown off, and lo and behold, it ended up into the pond and came down to the dam end of the pond, and there it sat. So I pulled that up, and it was like, that's curious. So we found that. But still have a little bit of work to do. Got some trees and bushes and stuff that are growing in the pond. So I got to buy myself a good limb saw, a hand limb saw. I've got a pole limb saw, but I need a good hand limb saw. Take the canoe out and slowly take branches off of trees and things that are actually underwater. See if I can't do that. And now, the one good thing is that going down and walking about in that area, I was able to get some very nice limbs for things like walking sticks and stuff like that. So have some nice ones, some young maple saplings and things that really will make absolutely beautiful, beautiful walking sticks. I've got one that I've used for a couple of years. The only thing that I've ever done to it is I take a little bit of epoxy and some strong thread, and in my case I use nylon artificial sinew, and kind of scrape as much of the wax off of it if I have waxed, or if I don't, find the stuff that doesn't have wax on it. It's just a bare nylon thread, and seems to work very well. And dip the tip in epoxy and then wrap it very, very tightly. Actually, I whip it kind of like you whip the end of a rope, and whip the end so that with the constant pounding on the ground, it doesn't split wide open and break. And that seems to really, really do a good job. And it's not really noticeable. I used, I think the last time I used nylon for, let's see, yeah, it was nylon braid fishing line, heavy test fishing line. The only downside to that, it's a black band on an otherwise fairly white walking stick. But I'll tell you, if you've never walked around in the woods with a really, really nice walking stick, well, you're missing out. It for me, when you hike, especially if you're wearing a backpack, your hands tend to swell, and having a hiking stick and constantly manipulating it, moving your fingers, actually keeps your hands from swelling. And the amazing thing is, at least for me, is that when I do that in one hand, I don't have swelling in the other hand either. And so it's just, it's one of those unique features. So I thoroughly enjoy that. And I enjoy just sitting around and making hiking sticks and stuff, and just playing around with them and just having a good time. Now, the other thing that's nice about a nice hiking stick made out of a young straight sapling is that once they dry out completely, and the way that I do it is I'll let them dry, if I cut them now, I'll let them dry through the summer outside, and there's varying levels of humidity, but it's a little bit drier than what the wood would be, under normal circumstances. And then what I'll do is I'll move it inside with the air conditioning, and the air conditioning does a really, really good job of just basically sucking the moisture out of it. And what I find is that it dries with a whole lot less splitting. You don't get the same level of cracking and splitting and everything else because I'm just not drying it that quickly. So it seems to work very nicely and very well. So if you happen to go out and harvest some walking sticks, now's a pretty good time to do it. Although you could also do it in the fall, or in fact any time between fall and now, I suppose. But yeah, so got to do that. Got to go out and play with some of my axes, and which is always fun. I thoroughly enjoy that. Just swinging an axe is there's something that is, I don't know. It's like shaving with a straight razor. There's something very zen-like about it. And in order to do a good job, you have to first off practice. You have to have an understanding of where you're putting the blade and how you're putting the blade. And yeah, it's just something that is, I don't know, nice about hearing a good axe strike into wood. It's just, yeah. There's just something about it. I mean, you can have a chainsaw all day long. Yeah, okay, it works and everything, but it's not an axe. It just doesn't sound the same. I'm sorry. Anything that you need earplugs for, although they are efficient and they are quick, and I do have 2 of them. So, yeah. In fact, I'm looking for a little electric one just for ease of, small stuff. But anyhow, that's just kind of some reflections. I was able to get the trash up, got to talk to a neighbor, sitting in the canoe and talking to a neighbor. Kind of fun. And just generally enjoying the day. It was a beautiful day for it, and yeah, just kind of makes it nice. Although I am interested. I find myself, I always look to different hobbies and things like that kind of help with some of the strengths or use some of the strengths that I have, but then expand things just a little bit. And one of the things that I've been looking at is skin-on-frame kayaks. And so I'm been watching some YouTube videos, and I'm exceedingly intrigued with skin-on-frame boats, whether kayaks or canoes, and I'm thinking about maybe trying to make one. So I'm trying to get it in my head how I'm going to do it and what I'm going to do it with, and yeah, it's it's kind of a mental exercise. And, you know, sometimes when you have a lot on your mind, especially at night, you know, when you have trouble sleeping, and I don't necessarily have trouble sleeping, you know, but I have in the past. And what I have found that works very, very well is to, well, essentially distract myself with something that is so totally off the wall, you know, different than what is potentially bugging me, that it just calms me down, settles me down to the point where I can easily fall asleep. And one of the things that I've been using for, I don't know, the last 2 months or so is just thinking about how I would go about with different modes and models and everything else for, well, a kayak, a skin-on-frame kayak specifically, which is, you know, something a little unique and strange, and, you know, yeah. And I thought, well, why not? Let's think about that for a little bit. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. But you know, if you find yourself having issues with sleeping and relaxing and things like that, you know, you might want to try just finding something that's just completely off the wall that you're interested in, but it is so completely different than anything that you have done, experienced, work on, whatever, that it's a relaxing distraction.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, brushandsoapandblade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.